So the first tip is obviously to make sure you are focusing first on creating a basic structure for the tattoo. At the moment I was using a reference, and here I'm focusing on just creating the basic structure so that when I'm creating the rough sketch for it, it's easier for me. So the reference had these circles, or basically a snake, and it was a perfect circle. So for that I used this shape tool. So wherever you have these specific shapes on your tattoo designs, a circle, a square, or whatever it is, I would highly recommend using shape tool because you want it to be really, really perfect. So the snake was thicker at the base and very thinner at the top, as you guys can see. So I'm adjusting the second circle in a way where it kind of depicts that. It's like the snake's body is thicker at the base and it's thinner at the top. So that's what I'm doing. Basically just creating a very basic structure for your tattoo design. It's not just limited to tattoo design, it's just anything you're drawing, you create a structure first. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just gonna fast forward this so that you guys can see what I'm really talking about. Once you have the basic structure with you for the design, now we can focus on creating a rough sketch. Now it looks like it's not a rough sketch, it's the final design. You can straight up jump onto that, but I'd highly recommend just to create a rough sketch first over the structure, the basic structure you've created. Okay, so that's number one. So obviously I had my reference, I constantly was looking at it. The second thing I would really suggest you guys doing when you're creating an incredible tattoo design is to enable your stabilizing tool whenever you are creating something which has these strong curves or strong lines, because we want those to be seamless. We don't want any bumps in there, because that's what we are aiming for. We are aiming for the seamless looking tattoo design, right? So you have to make sure that you're enabling that stabilizing tool, whatever you call it, whenever you're creating something which has these strong curves or strong lines, right? So as you guys can see, I actually kept on adjusting the stabilizing tool, and I kept on going from 1 to 3 to 4, mainly because when you are turning it up to 4, it's just gonna create a very strong shape. So for instance, if I am just creating a very simple curve, and my stabilizing tool is at 4, it's just gonna depict it as a circle. So rather than creating a simple curve, it's just gonna turn it into a circle, if that makes any sense. So that's why you have to kind of go back and forth from 1 to 4, and that decides the kind of power of that tool and how strong of a shape you want. So if there's a strong curve, I would suggest increasing it up to 4. But if there is no strong curve, it's just a simple little curve you're creating, I would suggest keeping it to 1 to 2, because that's how that would actually make that little curve look seamless and without any bumps. Okay, I hope this made sense. That's how you play around with the stabilizing tool. So again, this is a rough sketch. In my process, when I create tattoo design digitally, my process is to create a structure first, then create a rough sketch, then create the final sketch, and then I add details onto it. You can jump right onto the final design, but I just like to first create a rough sketch so that later on I can focus on the line art of it, because in tattoo design, line art is the major component. So that's what I did here. Now, once I was happy with the rough sketch, what I'm doing here is I am erasing any part which are kind of overlapping each other based on the reference that I have, and I'm just preparing my rough sketch and just getting it ready for the final design, the final outline. Also, the brush I'm using is Tattoo Inker. I really love this brush, and especially obviously to create tattoo designs. I think it's an absolutely amazing brush. For that purpose, that's what I'm using here. So yeah, I'm just gonna erase any parts which are overlapping each other so that we are like good to go when we're creating our final design. So in the final design, it's all about creating perfect line art. And one tip I'm going to give you guys is to zoom into your rough sketch to create effortless lines. And I've seen it working for me really well. When I zoom in and create the shapes, I sometimes don't even need the stabilizer tool, but again, keep it enabled and just keep on going back and forth from 1 to 4 in that tool, so that whatever shape you're creating it does not have any bumps. So creating the final design is all about creating perfect line art, and the only tips I can give you when it comes to creating perfect line art is to constantly play with the stabilizer tool depending on what kind of shape you're creating, as I explained you guys earlier in this video, and also just zooming in to the shape that you're creating so that it's easier to create a bump-free stroke. Right? And for tattoo designs, I love for my brush to be thicker, to be on a thicker side, meaning for my lines to be thicker, okay, for my lines to be darker. So obviously for that reason, I'm also using a black color. And also whenever I am creating tattoo designs, I love to add a little bit of thickness here and there, a little bit of black color here and there. As you guys can see, I have added this black kind of color and filled some parts in with the black color here and there on this tattoo design, because I don't know, it just looks really good that way. So that's it for how to create a perfect line art or for a tattoo design. Keep zooming into your objects or the shapes you're creating. Keep on playing with your stabilizer tool, and also keep on filling in some parts here and there with the black color just to make it look that much more tattooy. I don't know how to explain that, but yeah. And once I was happy with the line art for my tattoo, I started adding these little details. I could have stopped there with the final design, and I really didn't have to add these little details, but I just wanted to because obviously the reference had it and it looked good that way with more details. So the more details you add to a tattoo design, the better it looks in my eyes, because it was looking very simple before. So I'm just adding these little lines on these branches, on the stem of the flower, and I'm also going to be adding these little lines on the snake as well, just to make it look good. Okay, right now it's looking kind of empty. So my tip when you're creating a good tattoo design is to make sure that your design is not looking empty anywhere. Okay, you add any detail you want, some lines, some shape, just to fill it up, just to fill that emptiness up. Obviously, if you are creating a tattoo design for a client who does not want that, I'm not a tattoo artist. I just create tattoo design digitally, but I'm just saying if somebody wants it to be empty, that's different. I like the tattoo designs to be less empty. So those were some tips on creating good tattoo design on Autodesk Sketchbook. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and I hope this video also helped you in understanding how to create an amazing line art for your drawings. Other than that, I will see you guys in my next video.